Mom shouted that I was being selfish, and my brother just chuckled like it was all a joke. So I looked at them both and said, "Alright then, let's see who keeps that roof over your heads." She brushed it off like I wasn't serious, but their smug faces disappeared later that evening when I dragged myself home after another backbreaking day. Another 12-hour grind, another day where I shelved my own needs just to make sure they didn't go without. As soon as I stepped through the front door, I could hear them laughing, talking like nothing was wrong. I wasn't in the mood for it. For years, I'd been the one covering the mortgage, paying the utility bills, making sure Mom and my younger brother Caleb were taken care of after Dad passed away. It wasn't something we sat down and agreed on as a family, it just sort of happened. Nobody asked me, it was just assumed I'd handle it. And I did, because that's what you're supposed to do for family, right? But over time, something in the air shifted. What started out as appreciation slowly turned into expectation. The thank yous faded, replaced by whining and complaints. The long hours I worked weren't seen as a sacrifice anymore, they were treated like a nuisance. I stopped being their son and started feeling like I was just the guy who signed the checks. And that night, I hit my breaking point. It all began with Caleb. He was laid out on the couch like he owned the place, controller in hand, eyes glued to his game. That fancy new setup he'd been bugging me about? Top-tier monitor, high-end gaming chair, and a console that cost more than I spend on my car in a month. He'd even texted me the link earlier that morning, no greeting, no please, just, "Get this for me." I didn't even bother replying. I walked in, tossed my keys on the table, and said, "Hey." Then I asked him, "Did you even bother applying for those jobs I sent over?" Caleb snorted without looking away from his screen. "Nah, they all suck. You wouldn't want me wasting my time at some minimum wage gig, right?" I clenched my jaw so tight I could feel my teeth grinding. Before I could fire back, Mom came in from the kitchen, drying her hands on a dish towel like nothing was wrong. "Oh, Jason, stop hounding him. He's still figuring things out." "Figuring things out?" I repeated, staring at Caleb, who still hadn't looked up. "He's 24. He doesn't lift a finger around here." Caleb smirked without missing a beat. "That's not true, I game." I let out a sharp breath, trying hard not to blow up. "Right. And I'm just supposed to keep footing the bill for everything while you sit there?" Mom let out a huff. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Jason. We're grateful, really. But come on, you act like we're draining your bank account. Just money." That's what she said. And I couldn't believe my ears. I had given up nights out, pushed off vacations, settled for a crummy apartment, all so I could pour every dime into making sure they lived comfortably. Just money? I turned to Caleb. "Well then, if it's just money, why don't you buy your own gaming gear?" That made him pause for a second. He finally gave me a sideways glance, and that smug little grin crept onto his face. "Dude, why are you losing it? It's not like you're broke." Then he laughed. Like I was the punchline. And something in me just snapped. "All right. Let's see who's really covering your mortgage." Everything went quiet. For the first time, Caleb actually looked like he'd heard what I said. Mom frowned and waved her hand like she always did when she wanted to brush me off. "Oh Jason, please. You always say that, but you never actually do anything." "I would," I said, and this time, my voice didn't shake. It was calm. Cold. Her jaw hung open just a little. Caleb sat up straighter, eyes narrowing. "You think I'm bluffing?" I asked, pulling out my phone. "Let's see." For the first time in years, they looked unsure. Maybe even nervous. They stared at me like they weren't sure what I'd do next. Mom crossed her arms, still hoping I'd fold like usual. Caleb had that half smile like he still thought this was some kind of joke. They really thought I was bluffing. I opened my banking app, scrolled straight to the mortgage payments. A few taps, and I could pull the plug just like that. I hovered my thumb over the cancel button. My heart was pounding. "Jason," Mom's voice sounded different now, not so smug, not so sure of herself. It was careful. Cautious. "You don't mean that." I looked her right in the eye. "Why wouldn't I?" I asked, dead serious. "You love us," Mom said smoothly, like she was reminding me of something I was supposed to remember. "You wouldn't leave your own family out on the street." I let out a dry laugh. "Homeless? That's rich, Mom. You think I've ever really had a home here? I waved a hand around the living room, the one I paid for, month after month. This place never felt like mine. It's always been yours. Caleb's. I'm just the guy who keeps the lights on. Caleb scoffed from the couch. Oh, come on, man. Don't be so dramatic. You like taking care of us. I turned to him so fast it actually made him shift in his seat. That cocky grin slipped for just a second. No, Caleb. I liked holding on to the hope that one day you'd actually grow up and pull your own weight. I looked him square in the eye. I liked pretending Mom was grateful for everything I gave up for you too. I took a breath, slow and sharp, and shook my head. But now I see it plain as day. There's no appreciation. Just expectation. I turned back to Mom. I'm not your son anymore. I'm your ATM. And to you, Caleb? I'm the punchline to a joke you've been laughing at for years. Caleb shifted in place, clearly uncomfortable now. Mom still looked like she wasn't buying it. Jason, sweetheart, she said, taking a step closer, her voice soft like she thought that would calm me down. You're just tired. You've been working too much. You need rest. I am tired, I said, locking eyes with her. But I'm not stressed, not anymore. Then I looked down at my phone again. One last glance at the screen. No hesitation. I tapped the button. Mortgage payment cancelled. The silence that followed felt heavy, like the air had thickened. Mom's face went slack, her mouth slightly open in shock. Caleb's eyes went wide like someone had just poured cold water over his head. I slid the phone back in my pocket and let out a slow breath. There. Let's see how funny it is when the bills start piling up. Mom was the first to speak. Jason. You can't do this. I already did. You're being ridiculous, she snapped, her voice shifting from sweet to sharp in an instant. You owe us. I let out a laugh, short and hollow. No, I don't. I don't owe you a damn thing. She gasped, like I'd smacked her. Caleb jumped up off the couch, eyes wide with disbelief. Dude, what the hell? You're really gonna let your family go broke over some dumb fight? I stared at him for a long moment. You're 24, Caleb. Try getting a job. He looked at Mom like he expected her to step in and fix everything, like always. Jason, she said through clenched teeth, turn it back on. Right now. No. The color drained from her face. And in that moment, I watched the truth finally sink in. They realized I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't going to back down. Not this time. Their little fantasy world was starting to crumble. The silence hung between us, heavy and thick. Caleb looked back and forth between us, his confidence slipping away fast. You're actually serious, he muttered. I crossed my arms. Yeah, Caleb. I am. Mom took a shaky breath, trying to reel it back in. Jason, be reasonable. We're family. No, Mom, I said, cutting her off before she could try her guilt trip again. Family doesn't treat one of their own like a wallet. Family doesn't laugh while someone else breaks their back to keep things afloat. I gestured toward Caleb. You've let him lounge around for years while I worked myself to the bone. That ends today. Her lips moved like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. And then, right on cue, Caleb, ever the spoiled baby brother, scoffed. Fine. Go ahead. See if we care. I smiled. Oh, you'll care. I grabbed my keys and walked toward the door. Good luck with the bills. And just like that, I left. The last thing I heard before the door slammed shut was Mom whispering, "What are we going to do?" They had no idea what was coming next. I didn't go back that night. Or the next. For the first time in what felt like forever, I slept peacefully, no thoughts about overdue bills, no stressing over whether I'd have enough left to cover my own needs. Just peace. By the second day, the messages started. From Mom, Jason, we need to talk. Then, the bank called. The payment didn't go through. Please call me. From Caleb, dude. Are you seriously doing this? I didn't answer. Not a word. By day 3, the tone changed. Mom, how could you do this to your own mother? Caleb, wow. Real mature. Hope you're proud of yourself. And finally, the one that stuck with me, Mom, Jason, please. I don't know what to do. I stared at the screen for a long while. That message didn't sound entitled. It didn't sound smug. It sounded scared. I set the phone down and let it sit. Let them sweat. This was just the beginning. By the end of the week, the texts turned into phone calls. At first, I ignored them all. But when the third call came in within an hour, I picked up. Mom's voice burst through the speaker, frantic and panicked. Jason. Thank God. Listen, we've got a serious problem. She barely took a breath before rattling off, the mortgage is overdue, and the bank says if we don't pay soon, there'll be penalties. Late fees. Jason, you've got to fix this. I leaned back in my chair, calm as ever. No, Mom. You need to fix it. Her voice tightened like she was dealing with a child throwing a tantrum. Jason, come on. Don't be difficult. You don't understand. If we miss another payment, she went on, they'll start sending notices. This isn't funny anymore. I was never laughing, I said, flatly. There was a pause. Then she softened her tone again, trying to manipulate me the old way. Sweetheart, I know you're upset, but you can't just abandon us like this. I sighed. I didn't abandon you, Mom. I just stopped letting myself be used. There's a difference. She didn't reply right away. Then the sugarcoating dropped. Fine, she snapped. If you want to watch your own family fall apart, be my guest. But don't come crawling back when you realize how selfish you're being. I let out a small laugh. You really don't get it, do you? Her voice came through sharp. What's there to get? We're family, Jason. We help each other. No, Mom, I said, my voice flat. I helped you. And all I got back was being treated like an ATM. I could hear Caleb mumbling something in the background, and then, louder, cocky as ever, he scoffed. He's bluffing. He'll give in. That was it. That pushed me over the edge. Good luck, Mom, I said, and hung up. No hesitation this time. I blocked both of them. Their numbers, their messages, gone. And honestly? I felt lighter than I had in years. Like I could finally breathe. But cutting the line didn't stop the fallout. Not even close. About a week later, the unknown numbers started. Voicemails. All kinds. My mom tried every angle she could think of. First came the guilt. Jason, I don't know how you sleep at night knowing your own mother's struggling. Do you hate us that much? Then the denial, this is just a phase. I know you, Jason. You always come around. Just stop being dramatic and fix this already. And finally, desperation. Please, Jason. We got a second warning notice. I don't know what to do. We could lose the house. I listened to each one in silence. Then I deleted them. One by one. They still didn't get it. This wasn't my house. This wasn't my mess to clean up anymore. And I wasn't coming back. 10 days in, something shifted. I got a text from Mrs. Reynolds, the sweet older woman who lived next door to my mom. Jason, I don't mean to get involved, but your mother just came over in tears. She says she's sick and needs help. I'm worried. Can you check on her? Sick. Of course she was sick. I rubbed my face and let out a long breath. Mom was always good at turning the tables. But dragging Mrs. Reynolds into it? That was low even for her. I sat there for a good few minutes, wondering if I should just ignore it. But deep down, I needed to know. If she was actually sick, I'd deal with it. But if this was another act? Then this would be the last time I ever stepped foot in that house. I grabbed my keys. Time to end it. By the time I pulled up, the sun was setting. The house looked the same. But for the first time, it didn't feel like it had chains on me. I sat in the car a second, thinking, is this even worth it? But I had to know. I knocked once. No answer. Knocked again, louder. Finally, the door creaked open. There she was, wrapped in a thick blanket like she'd just crawled out of a hospital bed. Her eyes red, face pale, coughing like an extra in some soap opera. Oh, Jason, she whispered. I knew you'd come. I crossed my arms. What's wrong with you? She leaned on the doorframe, hand to her forehead. I don't know. Stress, maybe. I haven't even had the energy to eat. I looked past her into the living room. Piles of unopened mail, takeout boxes stacked on the counter. TV paused on some trashy reality show. And right there on the coffee table, a half-eaten pizza and a can of soda. So much for not eating. I let out a sharp breath. Cut the act, Mom. She blinked. What do you mean? You're not sick, I said. You thought playing the victim would get me to fold. Again. For a split second, her mask cracked. Then she coughed again, clearly not ready to give up the bit. Jason, please, I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. Enough. This is pathetic. She straightened up a little too quick for someone supposedly on the brink of collapse. You're being cruel. Do you even care what happens to us? I looked her dead in the eye. Not anymore. She flinched like I'd hit her. I did care, I said, voice steady. I broke my back for this family. You called me selfish, ungrateful, but the truth is, you only loved me for what I could give you. The second I stopped, you pulled this. Tears welled up in her eyes. That's not true, Jason. We love you. No. You needed me. And now that I'm done, you don't know what to do. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. I saw it then, real fear. Realization. I turned for the door. Figure it out, Mom. She reached for my arm. Jason, please. I pulled away. Goodbye, Mom. This time, I meant it. I didn't look back as I stepped outside. The door clicked shut behind me, but I could still hear her voice, soft and shaky. Jason, wait, please don't do this. I ignored it. The evening air was cool, but I barely noticed. My chest was tight, not from guilt, not even from anger, but from relief. I climbed into my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, and let out a long, slow breath. It was over. Really, actually over. No more breaking my back to keep their lives running. No more guilt. No more biting my tongue while they laughed behind my back. I was done. I was free. I started the car, ready to leave it all behind, when my phone lit up on the passenger seat. I didn't need to check the screen, I already knew who it was. Caleb. For a second, I thought about tossing the phone out the window. But there was still this tiny part of me, buried way down, that hoped maybe he'd changed. So I picked it up. What? I said flatly. Dude, Caleb muttered, bitterness thick in his voice. You really did it. I didn't respond. He gave this sharp, humorless laugh. You're seriously just gonna leave us hanging like that? After everything? That lit a fuse in me. After everything? I echoed, my voice rising. You mean after all the years I paid the bills? After bending over backwards for you two while getting nothing but grief in return? He snorted. Oh, please. Don't act like you're some saint, bro. You're not. I clenched my jaw, hard. And you're not a kid anymore. Time to grow the hell up. There was a pause. Then he dropped his voice. So that's it, huh? You think you're better than us now? Just 'cause you finally got a backbone? I almost laughed. No, Caleb. I don't think I'm better. I just think I'm done. Another pause. Then his voice turned quiet. Mom's losing it, man. She's freaking out. Good, I said, calm as ever. Maybe now she'll figure things out. You're really not gonna help, he asked, almost like he couldn't believe it. No, Caleb. I'm really not. He sucked in a breath, like he had more to say, but all he managed was, whatever, man. Don't come crying to us when you realize you've got nothing without family. I shook my head and said, no, Caleb. Don't come crying to me when you realize you had nothing without me. Then I hung up. Blocked his number. Took a deep breath, and pulled out of that driveway without a second thought. That was the moment I chose me for once. The days that followed were quiet. Almost too quiet at first. No constant buzzing phone, no guilt trips or money demands, no drama. It was strange, but it was also peaceful. For the first time in I don't know how long, I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't scrambling to bail them out of one mess after another. I even took a weekend off, no reason, just because I could. Then on day 15, a new message popped up. Unknown number. Jason, it's Aunt Linda. Call me. That caught me off guard. Aunt Linda usually kept to herself, lived in another state, never really got involved in family stuff. If she was reaching out, it had to be serious. I called her back. She picked up instantly. Jason. Thank God. I sat up straight. What's going on? She sighed, heavy and tired. It's your mother. She called me in pieces. Says she doesn't know how she's gonna make it. She told me you cut her off. Now she and Caleb are drowning in debt. I leaned back against the couch, steady. That tracks. So it's true, she asked softly. Yeah. And I don't regret it. There was a beat of silence. Then she said, real careful like, I get it, Jason. I do. But, are you sure there's no way to fix this? I let out a dry laugh. Fix what, Aunt Linda? The years they used me like a piggy bank? The way they laughed whenever I tried to set a boundary? They didn't love me, they loved what I did for them. She was quiet for a bit, then said, I understand. I really do. But, she's still your mom. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. She was only ever a mom when it benefited her. That seemed to hit her. And then she hit me with something else. You know they're losing the house, right? I blinked. What? Final notice came last week. She called me sobbing, but Jason, I can't help her. I'm barely staying afloat myself. And Caleb's got nothing. They're out of options. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Not guilt. Not pity. Just a quiet sense of inevitability. Like the bill had finally come due. She really thought I'd never leave, I muttered. She thought she could keep using me forever. She's panicking now, Linda said softly. Good, I replied without hesitation. Then she asked, so, what are you gonna do? I didn't need time to think. Nothing. It's not my job to fix their mess anymore. And for the first time, I meant it. A week later, one final message came through. From Mom. The house is gone. Just that. No pleading. No yelling. No excuses. I stared at the text for a while, waiting for some kind of reaction to bubble up. But there was nothing. No ache in my chest. No second guessing. Just a steady calm. I'd spent years being their crutch, their ATM, their emotional punching bag. And the second I stopped holding everything up, it all came crashing down. Not because I wanted them to fail, but because they never once tried to stand on their own. They bet everything on the idea that I'd never walk away. But I did. And now? Now they were left standing in the rubble they built. I set the phone down and exhaled. No more dragging myself through life just to keep them comfortable. No more sacrificing my peace so they could keep living recklessly. I was free. I stepped out of my apartment, felt the sun on my face, and for the first time in forever, the world felt open, like maybe, just maybe, my life was finally beginning. And this time, it was mine. All mine.